Two Knicks Chicks family, welcome back to another episode of Two Knicks Chicks. I'm your girl, Lady, and the Chef, joined by my co-host today.
Belux 21, what's good?
Another Knicks saga. The Knicks coming off a three-game winning streak. The Knicks have won 19 out of their last seven of their last 26 games. They won their last three games. They beat teams that are, quite frankly, not good. So they beat Utah, Indiana, and just most recently last night they did beat the Warriors back home. So they're winning games, but against teams that are not winning teams in the league right now.
Uh,
The offense has been in question for the Knicks. They are third in offensive rating, but they haven't been making shots, particularly the 3-point shot. And there have been lapses in the defense as well, right? The Knicks have had slow starts. And quite honestly, they have not played a solid 48 minutes of basketball with those slow starts. But we'll go over yesterday's game first. I do want to talk about that right now. Let me, I thought I had it pulled up. Hold on. Let me pull it up. Okay, here we go. Knicks got outscored the first quarter last night, 35-21. And then second quarter they did outbeat second and third quarter they did outbeat the Warriors, and then the fourth quarter both teams scored an even 27 points. The first quarter though, I want to talk about in particular, the Knicks looked so slow, so stagnant. There was no energy. Quite honestly, it was boring. And I was like, what is going on? I don't know if it's because they just got back home and they've been on the road. They just they didn't look good. They just looked so slow and like lackadaisical. And I was like, what is going on with this team? Like what is happening here? And it just seemed like no one was driving to the basket. There was no one trying to cut to the basket, drive to the basket. And then I don't know what's been going on these last couple of games as well. The Knicks haven't been making their shots. The offense, they just been, a bit of brick city going on with the shots. What were your thoughts when you watched that game?
it was brutal watching them
Yeah.
because to know that they're playing G Leaguers or the B squad. Only person that I recognize is Brandon Podjeski, like the name anyway. And when you see these guys out hustling the Knicks, out playing them, just like at fast breaks, you name it across the board, and it just makes you wonder what if. And there's no excuses. That's why I'm not. I don't have any. You say, I don't know if they were just coming off. No, like they said, there's no crying in baseball. There's no excuses in basketball. So it just makes you wonder. Well, if you're playing at this level, what are you gonna do in the post? Like these are games you need to stack. I mean, because it counts. It's not like, oh,
Mhm.
it don't count. It counts. And then you're at home. So it was brutal watching them, man. I tell you, I kind of lost interest because like I'm like I know the Knicks are a much better team than this. Like they are much better, you know. So and like we said, they tend to play down on teams like this. Why? Like
Right.
what is the makeup with that? So just I mean, yeah, they got the win. Say a win is a win. Well, this case, listen here, that's how y'all got to get a win. Then y'all might as well go pack your bags and make your reservations for after the season because you won't get far.
Right.
So and again, you just Mikhail, but I know you're gonna get into that. But yeah, they got the win, but at what cost? They be down 21 to a
Right.
team that you're playing the B squad. Like you exerted too much energy just to get that win. Not
Yeah.
that not that you were expecting a cakewalk, because we know Steve Kerr. You know he prepares his guys, and that showed right there. And Mike Brown was an assistant under Kerr, so you should have known he was gonna have his guys play regardless. So like. Mike Brown, what are you doing?
Yeah. See, my thing with that is, I think, yeah, you put some blame on Mike Brown as the coach, but Mike Brown can't go out there and play. And this seems to have been somewhat of a pattern the last few games where the Knicks have had these slow, not even just first quarters, but slow first halves,
Yeah,
and it just seems like the Knicks are kind of getting themselves in a slow rut. And then now the third quarter, I'm happy they're able to figure out how to rebound, but a few of those games have cost them. Both of those LA games in particular, that the Knicks should have taken at least one of them, which they were more than capable of winning both of them. But it just seems like I don't know what's going on with the Knicks and why they've had these slow first quarter starts. Um, in this particular game, OG Ananobi played 29 minutes. He had 14 points. He was 3 for 6 from the field, 2 for 4 from the 3 point line. He was 6 for 6 from the free throw line, had 4 rebounds, 1 assist. Josh Hart played 31 minutes, had 7 points. He was 3 for 6 from the field, did hit 1 3-pointer. Carl Anthony Towns also played 31 minutes. He finished with a double double, had 17 points, 12 rebounds. He was 3 for 4 from the free throw line. He missed both of his 3 pointers, so he was 0 for 2 and 7 for 12 from the field. Jalen Brunson played 36 minutes, finished with 30 points. He had 9 assists. He was 10 for 10 for his free throws. He was 2 for 7 from the 3 point line and 9 for 20 from the field. Mikal Bridges, 21 minutes, had 7 points. He was 3 for 10 from the field, 1 for 6 from the three, had 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, 1 steal. Mo Diawara played 11 minutes, had 3 points. He was 1 for 4 from the field. Jordan Clarkson has been getting minutes as of late. I said this before. You got to keep him in the rotation. He played 22 minutes, finished with 14 points. He was 6 for 11 from the field, 1 for 2 from the 3 point line, and hit one free throw. Landry Shamet played 27 minutes. Not a good game from Landry Shamet. I just
yeah,
didn't like the passes that he was making. They were stupid passes, if you ask me. 27 minutes, 10 points. He was 3 for 10 from the field, 2 for 8 from the 3 point line, and he was 2 for 2 from his free throws. He did hit 2 clutch free throws for us at the end when he got fouled. Jose Alvarado played 15 minutes, had 4 points, 4 assists. And Mitchell Robinson played 17 minutes, had 4 points, 10 rebounds for us. Jordan Clarkson has been getting minutes as of late. He was one of the highlights for me that I wanted to talk about. And, quite honestly, I was going to say shout out to Mike Brown, who has been giving Jordan Clarkson more minutes as of late. Jordan Clarkson is averaging a little over 16 points per game, but kudos to him because he stays ready with that next man up mentality. I spoke about this maybe an episode or two ago where I said I like his enthusiasm, how he's engaged. He's watching a game, looking at where he needs to go and where he needs to be. I know one of the things that I see to me that he needs to work on is sometimes when he drives to the basket, maybe he needs to add a head fake or a punk fake because
mm,
I notice sometimes he gets blocked. But I like the fact that he reminds me of like a OG Ananobi. He takes it to the basket. He's not just relying on that 3 point shot. And that I think helps the Knicks. He did that when he got the minutes in LA against the Lakers when Mike Brown put him in. There was a turning point in that game when Clarkson came in, and I noticed there was a shift that happened. But just to put in some context here, Brown went with Clarkson in yesterday's game to wake up this sleepy Knicks team. Clarkson finished, like I said, with 14.6 from 11 from the field in 21 minutes. New York outscored Golden State by 14 when he was on the floor. Mikal Bridges finished the game with 7 points in 21 minutes. So they both played 21 minutes. Mikal missed 5 of his 6 3-point attempts. Clarkson was averaging just 2.4 minutes per game after the All-Star break. And then over the last 3 games, he's outscored. He has scored, 49 points, 19 for 35 on shooting in the last 3 games. I said it before. I think that he needs to be in a rotation in these last set of games because you're going to need him in the playoffs. He, to me, and I'm standing on what I'm saying, I think Clarkson could be that guy who comes off the bench and give the Knicks a lift. And on a night where maybe guys are off, the shooting is off, nobody's driving, he's unafraid. He's not afraid to take it to the hole and drive. And I'm like, wow, like, look at how he's just going to the basket, relentless. He's willing to get the contact. And I'm like, and again, I try to train my mind to how you always tell me that that's not Mikel's game, but what is his game? You know what I mean? I think that it leads me to wonder, like, what is Mikel's game? But, again, and like you said, a win is a win when you watch that Warriors game and we'll take it. Um, but I did have some questions I wanted to ask, unless you want to talk about that game a little bit more.
No, I mean, my only concern is Mikel. Like, I mean, I get it. Players go through a slump. You know, Brunson went through a brief slump. Cat went through a slump. OG went. I get it, but like even when their slump was there, they did other little things, and I don't see that with Mikel. And I mean, you could, oh, what he did for the playoffs, he'll wake up. I get all that, and I was remember I sent you that text. Oh, fans like they like to hold on to yesteryear. They like hoarders. They like to hold on their mind. What happened? This is a brand new season. Like we need Mikel to be that player that they gave, traded for, not even traded, who they
Gave
brought
up.
in, yeah, gave up those picks for. So we need that Mikel to show up. But like as much as I said, oh, I'm not, and I'm resigned. I know this is what we're gonna get from him, but it's just so disheartening because again, you're leaving points on the board that perhaps they don't have to climb out of that hole. If they could get those necessary buckets and that contribution from him, who knows, that potentially will make a difference, but we won't know because we don't get it and we don't see it. So how would we know, the outcome? And at the same time, well, the outcome could be, oh, we lose, but guess what? We still don't know. So I mean, I just, and he's like, he's regressed, somewhat. So, I just
Agreed.
hope he, get out that funk or whatever that slump he's in, and and make a contribution. So.
Yeah, I think there has been a lot of talks and chatter, and I'm sure you've heard this too, where a lot of Knicks fans feel like there's a lot of talk about Josh Hart shouldn't be starting and maybe Brown
Yeah.
should try to have him coming off the bench, but no one's talking about Mikal Bridges coming off the bench. I don't hear enough chatter about that. And I think we're overlooking Josh and what he does. I even saw Josh get a key rebound and late in that yesterday's game. Um, but and there was no one else near the basket because I think Cat was out defending where he was supposed to be, and Josh grabbed us a key clutch rebound at the end of yesterday's game. But um, do you think that there should be some talk about maybe Mikel coming off the bench, or maybe it seems like Brown is slowly but surely dwindling down his minutes some? And I'm not saying put Mikel down to 10 minutes a game, but maybe, I don't know, do you switch it up and maybe so he can analyze from the bench the game and maybe you have Clarkson come in some games? I'm not saying for him to always necessarily start, but hypothetically, if Deuce was healthy and playing, do you have Mikel maybe sit out one game and then maybe you try it? And if you had Deuce here, maybe you had Clarkson come in and switch it up because I agree with you. The other little things are not being displayed on the floor. And when you don't have a guy like Mikel, OG, Shamit helping score, now the pressure falls on Brunson and it falls on Cat to have to produce in a game. Also, that makes your defense be able to read the team because they're like, well, they're not doing nothing, or they're, you know what I mean? No one's being aggressive. They're not making shots. So
Mhm.
we really don't need to focus on these two. But do you think that there should be some talk and maybe some consideration to have Mikel maybe again, I'm not saying not to have him necessarily completely stop starting games, but maybe come off the bench.
It should be, but I don't think McCall's gonna come off the bench because A, the picks that that we gave up for him. B, like he's a wing and he's bringing that defensive, pressure that you know like if they play like a somebody like a Cade or one of those type of guys. So I think that's what Brown is holding on to.
Right.
Um, and I think by him, when he don't see that and get it from Mikel, then that's when he benches him because he has been benched a few games, down the stretch. So I think he's silently, hoping that he'll, get out of that slump and, play him. Oh, hell, maybe he got something from the front office. We don't know. We're just fans, just speculating.
Right.
So we don't know on the other side of that fence. What's being whispered in Brown's ear, what he's being told. So and a player like Mikel, just I guess you just keep him engaged and hope that he, get out that slump that he's in. But benching him, I would definitely try tweaking that lineup. Um, you know, you won't know if you don't tweak it. And to answer if Deuce was healthy, I quite frankly I think Deuce will probably start in the place of Mikel. You know, if he was healthy, I think probably Brown would take that chance and
Right.
and and bench Mikel and put Deucin over him. But in his mindset, he's like, oh no, these are bench players, and like a Clarkson and a Shaman. These are bench players, and this is what we're gonna keep them as. But at this rate, I would give it a shot.
Yeah. I do agree with you. I think that as much as we want to be like, yo, Brown should maybe try to switch up with Mikel, we don't know what the front office is saying and telling Brown. And I think what they're doing is it's almost like when you're at a job and the manager's like, I'm going to keep letting you rock out. But if you mess up some more, I'm going to have to write you up. And in his case, I'm going to have to put you on the bench and let you. And he has. You're absolutely right. Brown has sat Mikel late in games. I guess
Yeah,
just because you're cold, you can't buy a bucket to save your life. Like a lot of times when I see when the Knicks are playing and they're in a nice groove and the ball is moving and we pass it to Mikel in that corner. Now, is Mikel a lot more successful at that shorter end of the 3 point? Yes, but he's off. He's so off. It's like I cringe when Mikel shoots because I'm like, he's not hot. He's in a rut.
yeah, he's in a real funk.
And he is. He's stinking up the joint. And I think about what you always say a lot of times with players is that if you do that though, like you always say, they're human, it's gonna mess with him mentally. So you don't know if that's gonna mess him up if he. But at the end of the day, a part of me, I'm half and half with that. Yes, I think it messes with a player mentally, but then I look at a player and like you always say, no excuses. Look at Jordan Clarkson. His minutes got diminished down to 2.4 minutes a game. Did he let that mess him up mentally? No. You put it
Yeah,
on the floor and take it out on the floor and show why you belong to be a starter. And quite honestly, I think Mikel Bridges needs some time to analyze from the bench so he can be a student of the game. I don't care how long you've been in the league. Yes,
yeah,
we know what you could do, but you're way too up and down and too inconsistent.
yeah,
And that's just it's making the team fragile. And I'm not just putting all the blame on him, but it's like you said, for all that they gave up to get you here and keep this Nova collection here, it's just I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be working out. And I don't want to go too ahead of myself because my thing is, and I'm sure like a lot of Knicks fans, we're like, okay, well, let's see what Mikel does in the playoffs. And that leads me to my other question that I wanted to ask, is, a lot of Knicks fans have mentioned how both Mikel and OG, and you kind of alluded to this a few minutes ago, have shown that they can play on another level in the playoffs. Do you think that we'll get a heightened version of both of those players players on both ends of the floor in the playoffs.
For sure. Yeah, because I mean, yeah, the regular season, we know what's at stake, seeding and so forth, and you want the home court advantage. But I think definitely the playoffs, everyone always say, playoffs is a whole different animal. So it brings out, I guess that other person, um, or brings the help, brings out a notch or whatever. I'm trying to I'm missing my words, but it brings them another level. So I definitely think OG will bring it. And Macau, I believe so too. Kinda. I mean, because he plays so safe. It's like if the regular season, if that's physical, then the playoffs, man, everybody's clawing and scratching. So it makes you wonder, will we, you know, are we still gonna get that little fadeaway jumper? Will he drive and, you know, will he, get down and drive in the paint, or is he still gonna just play safe like he did in the regular season and rely on that jumper, So. I think he'll definitely bring it up a notch, but to what degree?
Right. Yeah. I feel confident in both of the players being able to bring that different level of competitiveness in the postseason. And I think that as a whole, not just those two players, but I do think that the Knicks are going to bring a lot more effort and intensity. Um, my biggest thing with them is that I know that they can do that as a team, and I know both Mikel, particularly OG, I'm very confident in, and what we saw Mikel do, particularly on defense, especially in that Boston series last year. I'm confident that they can step up and bring a heightened level of competitiveness in the postseason. But my thing is, I don't want the Knicks to lose any steam after that second round. You gotta find that extra wind in you. You have to find it. If you're healthy, you gotta find it. You can't allow a team to do what Indiana did to you last year. You know what I mean? And when you think about the playoffs and the Knicks seeding, they're sitting at third right now. What team to you do you feel like this may be a tough matchup for the Knicks? And you're a little like, I don't know. You're confident in riding with your Knicks, but you're not really sure because this team, the Knicks, just. And the reason why I say this is because as much as we will see that heightened level of competitiveness, let's be honest, the Knicks have a hard time guarding the perimeter. You play Boston, how you gonna guard them from shooting those threes? Because once they get started, it's like tag you're it. Everybody knows how to shoot the threes on Boston. You got Tatum back, and I knew he was gonna come back. I knew it. I knew it. I knew he was gonna end up coming back this season. A lot of people say, "Oh, I saw those videos of him on YouTube. He was training." I said he's coming back. But are there any teams in particular? I don't know. To me, it would probably go between or
Nah,
Detroit or Boston.
nah. Boston's the only concerning team for me, um, because we match up well with Cleveland and Detroit. And I said this a few episodes ago. Detroit don't have they lost all their shooters. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, they replaced Caris LeVert. And then they got the kid. Dennis. He's found his little groove. And then they got Duncan Robinson. But you know apples to apples, I think the Knicks are much a better matchup when it comes to that. Um, you know, Detroit, the Knicks are gonna definitely bring it up a notch. Yeah, K, we know he got that little chip on his shoulder, but you know they went into so many slumps. So things like that could and the Knicks are ascending, and they're like had the little slump that they went through, and Cleveland, we manhandle. I want to say something else, but Cleveland, I think we're definitely gonna, get past them. Boston's my only concerning team because Tatum's back. And of course, the more he plays, he's gonna get in his rhythm.
Hmm.
Um, that's about the only team that's gonna give us the most trouble.
Honestly, I don't want to count out Detroit because
Ah,
while I agree with you, Boston is a problem team. Boston also wants revenge on the Knicks, just like Detroit does. The Knicks
yeah,
are the hunted this season because they knocked out both of those teams. They're the hunted. And I'm not saying it's just because Detroit has beat the Knicks so far in the season series, but you got to give credit to Bickerstaff. He has figured out how to have his guys defend the Knicks to a T. To a T, to the point where when you watch Detroit defend the Knicks don't even have room to make pick and rolls. They don't even have room to give off a bounce pass, a chest. They can't even do anything because it's not even that they're double teaming and triple teaming Brunson. They're they're playing defense so well on everyone. Whoever's that five on the floor for the Knicks, Detroit has figured out how to defend the Knicks, how to slow them down in pace, how to make them play only half court offense, limit their fast break points, take Carl Anthony Towns out of the paint, let alone even allow him to shoot a three. If you and again, this is why I asked this question because a lot of Knicks fans, I'm seeing them on these different chats, not just on YouTube, but I'm reading comments and Knicks fans are saying, I'm not worried about the Knicks because if they did it last year, but why are we still going back on why do we have to play under that stress of does it make for exciting basketball? Absolutely. But why do we have to go into a brand new season of playoffs and watch this team go down by 20 and 25 points and watch them crawl back? I love it because something about that screams it's very powerful to watch a team be very persistent and resilient and to climb back out of a hole and be down such a large margin, right? But you don't need to do that. And I don't think that that's necessary, at least not for almost 4 games in a season series in the playoffs. But something about Detroit, if you really watch the way they defend the New York Knicks, they have figured out not just how to guard Brunson and take Brunson out of the game and slow him down, but they figured out how to stop them and slow them down. And I also want to piggyback off of that. I haven't seen Brown make any adjustments against Detroit in those 4 matchups that we played against them in the regular season. We played the same way each time. I didn't see any changes. Now, flip over to Boston. You got Tatum back. Brown had a whole lot to say in the press conferences last season. He had an attitude that they lost, right? He has an attitude because Jalen Brunson keeps winning player of the week and player of the month. And he's like, well, why y'all keep giving it to him and I'm busting my ass out there? He's feeling some type of way, right? So they have all the pieces that they need, Boston. They have the shooters, unlike Detroit. They have guys who could rebound. This team is not necessarily broken and they've been there. They won a championship, so they know what it takes. So I don't know. I think that there's a little bit of for me, I'm a little like, I'm not sure how this is going to go because at some point you're going to have to face up and play Boston, but also with Detroit. And then with the Knicks being the hunted, it just makes you wonder how this is going to go for this team in the playoffs. And I don't know, and especially with the slow starts. I'm looking for the Knicks to fix that
mm,
in these remaining games. And I know you text me and you were saying, I think you said it in the last episode, how the Knicks have one of the easier schedules at the
yeah,
remaining half of the season. So you look for them to build up, not just on wins, but correct the lapses that are happening, the bad habits, and make some
yeah.
changes. And we haven't seen that yet. Um, but when you look at the offense, why do you think the offense looks so stagnant? And is this a lineup issue or do guys just need to bring forth more effort and just play better?
All of that, all of it. Serious. It's like there's no ball movement. So man, they the Knicks should like everybody get a touch before a shot thrown
Agreed.
up in the air. Like everybody should, because you keep the defense on their heels, and this is why I don't get like Brown with like his mo. Like where are you going with this team? Like yeah, you're not out there playing, but your scheme, like everybody should touch that ball before anybody gets a shot up. Like so that we need more ball movement. Um, as much as I love Brunson because of what he does, like yesterday, he was 10 for 10, and that's it. When he goes to the line, the Knicks are more successful as far as like
Agreed.
winning. So again, like so these things, like you want me to do this, but then again, nah, do that. Like so, but he needs to come off the ball some more. Like I sometimes I watch the shot clock and it's down to 12, then it's down to like 10 because he's had it the possession like for like 12 seconds, sometimes more than that. So he definitely needs to come off the ball. I mean, as much as he does for this team, like some slow starts, they need to figure out like, you know, what is, what why are we getting up to these slow starts and we're digging ourselves in the hole. The team ain't doing it. It's them. They're
Right.
digging themselves in the hole. Like that's things like they gotta like figure this out before the regular season is over. Um, Again, I would definitely love to see some tweak in the lineup, even if it's at the expense of Hart. Like you know, flip a coin between Michaela and Josh. Like, and I'm surprised Brown hasn't like done that. Just to see, will that formula work? If not, you can always go back to what you were doing before. So it's just a combination of a lot of things. Like them slow starts, man. They got to figure out, like, hey, this is on us. This is not that no other team. Um, we need to, have more ball movement, like, and this, these guys just like more active on the court, move, cut, you know. So it's a combination of things, man.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you watch the Knicks, part of what I see as a fan is four guys waiting for Brunson to make a move and not, well, let me go at it and get an opportunity. The opportunity's there, and there's no one else making that effort to attack. This Knicks team lacks that energy to attack the basket. That's an Achilles heel for this Knicks team. And this has been like this even before Brown was the coach. I said this before. This was a thing even when Thibodeau. This has been a thing for the Knicks for years. They have lacked that energy to attack the basket. We usually only have one or two guys, maybe three guys on a roster who aggressively take the ball to the basket no matter what defense is on them. And this Knicks team, when I watch a lot of times, is Brunson at the top of the key. It's a lack of ball movement where you get at least 5 passes, 4 or 5 passes, everyone gets a touch. No one is cutting to the basket. There's no pick and roll screens. Carl Anthony Towns, by the time he gets involved, it's already midway in the third quarter, or at least the third quarter, when he starts to come alive. And it seems like Cat is starting to figure out and has started to get in place and comfortable with, okay, this is what Brown wants me to do. He's been playing well. And going to your question of a lineup, maybe not even Hart, but maybe try a double big lineup, and maybe you have both Cat and you have Mitch on the floor, which we had at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And it seems like, Mitch, yeah, he's gonna still be on that every other game, playing every other game, but I think it'll be an asset to have both of them on the floor at the same time. Um, and this relates to it, but that's why sometimes I think you got to get rid of Huck Porty and bring somebody else in who can give you a little bit more. Because if you need to sit Mitch out, you need somebody else who can give you to the level of what Cat or Mitch can do. Maybe not fully what they can do, but to a higher level than what Huck Porty's doing.
Yeah.
So when you watch in the first quarters, and again, I try to train myself to tell myself, like when I watch Josh Hart, you know, it pains me to see Josh Hart. He'll get the ball above the free throw line and he'll turn around from the basket and throw the ball back out. So I blame him as the player and then I blame coaches as well. Mikal Bridges does the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, who the players I see a lot of times will be aggressive. Shamit, he's not afraid to take the contact. Alvarado,
Hmm.
Brunson, OG, head be lumped up. They hit the camera, sneaker get in the back of their head, sneaker fall off. They don't care. They're going to drive to the basket. But I think as a whole, collectively, the reason why the Knicks are having these lapses, there's, and I've been saying this and it's true. There's this lack of like mental toughness, the consistency, this grittiness and aggressiveness that's needed for this team. And again, I don't know if they're preserving this and they're going to turn it up in the playoffs. I'm sure they will. But why you got to wait to the playoffs to display that? I'm not saying to exhaust all your energy now, but like this is your time with these last couple of games to tighten up the loose screws. And the Knicks right now, I heard it was Mello on NBC, Crawford and Vince talking about this, and they were saying like the Knicks have to tighten up the loose ends. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of, Mello was like, I'm saying we, like I'm on the team, but he was like, I'm a Nick. He was like, we got to, he was like, straighten up all the loose ends. He was like, it's too many cracks on this team, and this is why they're struggling. Yeah, you got the win, but in what manner did you get the win? And I just think that I don't know, do you need to change the lineup? I'm not saying change it drastically, but maybe play around with it. You know what I mean? Maybe Brown needs to do that and try to see if something else works and then if it sticks. And that's the other problem too. The Knicks run away from what works. You'll watch them play one game and you're like, wow, that was beautiful basketball. Guys were moving the basket, they were picking rolls, they were just in a flow state playing amazing. And then the next few games, they move away from that and they make it harder for themselves when they're playing in these games. You're just like, why are you playing like this? And this is what I mean. There's no, I wish I can be an assistant coach or a fly on the wall and hear what's going on in the timeouts and in the huddles and what Brown's telling them. I did read that Mike Brown basically was saying he's seen and had enough with the slow first quarters. I want to point out that since the All-Star break, the Knicks starting five has been outscored by a combined 34 points in the first quarter. Mike Brown said, and quote, we have to figure out individually, collectively, how we can start games better. I'm not talking about the outcome, win or loss. I'm talking about the start of the game. We need to start games with a level of focus, a level of physicality, so that they're feeling us to the start of the game. He said this group knows it, they understand it. Now we've just got to do it. When he was asked if he plans to change the starting lineup, he said, right now, I don't feel the need to. But like I said, if I felt the need to, I would. He said, I'm not thinking about that right now. I'm not concentrating on each individual in the starting lineup because we've started different people in recent games. So it's collectively been a problem in the last 7, 8 games. What are your thoughts on Brown's statement on the slow starts and potentially changing up the lineup?
Well, like, I was reading some, like I said, Brown, he's one of those guys that he just says it because it sounds good, and he
To
think
the
that
media.
that's what you want to hear as a fan and an organization. Um, and so I'm not buying it because you we're at game 69, and now you want to talk about slow starts. So
Right.
it sounds good. It sounds like the correct answer, and that's what he did. He gave the correct answer. As any coach, should or would, but you got to implement it, and don't talk about it, be about it. Like so, like we've seen, he's made no adjustments. You know how Detroit beat us 3-0. Like, where was your adjustments? Like, you know, that even that LA game, you know, um, he didn't make an adjustment there. I mean, there was just he's slow to, make adjustments and rotation shifts. Like he's kind of like, I don't even want to say, because I don't want to compare him like to, he's so like he's regimented where it's like, oh, let me do, this, well, they got up, they skate through, they got the win. So I just, want him to make the changes, you know.
Physically, you want to see it on the floor, not just
Yeah,
talk about it in the press. And I
yeah,
agree with you. It's like when you watch the Knicks, sure, you can say what you say as a coach to the press because it sounds good and you're being safe and making sure your press conferences are well accepted and and you watching how you critique and the things you say. But when you watch this Knicks team, and I said this probably a little bit before midway of this season, you don't see any of the bad habits that have been corrected. This team still has a garbage bag full of bad habits that they've brought with them before the Tibbs tenure, during the Tibbs tenure, and now under Mike Brown. And we saw this even under Tibbs, slow starts. And then eventually they corrected that and they got better. But that was the thing. Again, this team lacks inconsistency. Sometimes when you're watching the Knicks when they're on offense, perfect example, yesterday's game, it looked like the Knicks weren't even running a play. It was just four guys standing, two on the backcourt, two at the front, and Brunson at the top of the key, just dribbling it down. Next thing you know, it was 7 seconds, 6 seconds. And then, sometimes Brunson's doing so much of that dribbling, the ball's dribbling off his foot, off his ankle, or he's getting pickpocketed lately a lot as well. But
yeah,
I watched this team, I haven't seen corrections. And again, when even I put it on this thumbnail, when you watch the Knicks, sure, on paper, they look good. But if you weren't a Knicks fan and you watch some of the games, and again, I'll take the wins, I will. But it's in the way and the fashion that you won the game. You
yeah,
barely sometimes got by. Sure, you fought back. And I'm not just saying just because you had to fight back. Some games are going to be a battle, right? That's what makes it great basketball. But you watch the Knicks defensively, and I called this out. And this video didn't get a lot of views because people probably was like, what are they talking about there? But I still stand on what I said. This Knicks team has a defensive issue problem. I don't care what's on paper. You watch the Knicks play defense and they're playing, they have this bad habit of double teaming. Why? Why are you still double teaming when you're not a good recovery team? You don't recover well.
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes when you watch the Knicks on nights when Mitchell Robinson's not in, and if Cat has to get a breather and you have Huck Porty in, we have no height to grab a rebound. Josh Hart has to work overtime, triple time. Him and OG got to come in and help, which rightfully they should be doing. But sometimes when you really analyze as a Knicks fan, and I'm speaking to the chat as well, when you watch this Knicks team, sometimes on offense, it looks like the Knicks are not even running a play. It looks like they're in practice. Some nights they're not communicating. You can tell when they're communicating, but some nights they're not. And I get it. Teams go through shooting slumps. Players individually go through shooting slumps. The Knicks have been in a shooting slump as of late. They can't knock down a three to save their lives.
yeah. Shooting horrible. Ooh,
Can't buy a basket. But if that's the case, this is where I go back to Brown because it's like it's a cycle, like in a washing machine. It goes back to Brown. As a coach, where is the plan B or C to say, well, we have to attack the basket? I'm not, shooters are going to shoot and you want to encourage your players to shoot, but at what point do you say we got to attack the basket?
Yeah.
Stop shoot. Yesterday's game, the Knicks just throwing up. I was getting so annoyed. I was like, yo, why? We're doing the same repeated cycle. You're shooting shots that you're not making.
32 yesterday.
Yeah. At some point, when do you say, okay, let's bring it in? Right? Shoot something a little closer. Shoot it above the free throw line.
Attack. Yeah.
Attack the basket and drive. You'll get the foul and possibly the and one. You stop the clock. Now you could get to the free throw line and give us another point or two. Stop. Why are we shooting and the Knicks rely on 3-pointers? Why? You're relying on shots that you're not making. Are you capable of making them? Absolutely. When the Knicks are on, they're on. Not just in shooting, offense, and defense. But right now, as a team, you're in a slump. So I look to Brown and I wonder, well, when do you say, okay, let me draw up some plays? Because sometimes you'll see the Knicks, they'll come in for a timeout and they'll have a nice, easy, quick, nice play bucket. Maybe Cat get it right under the basket, quick. And I'm like, oh, wow, that was a nice play. But we don't see that often enough. And this is why I say a lot of times, I don't think the Knicks went the front office went in the right direction for leadership coaching wise. Because I think the Knicks need the type of coach where I don't want to just hear the talking and that you believe in your players and you believe in this guy and you know that they could do this and I don't want to hear it. I want to see it. I want to see it when I'm watching them play. When you watched the Warriors last night, what were they doing? Attacking the basket.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, they're lucky that Curry wasn't playing because he would have lit their asses on fire from behind the arc.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because every time the Knicks would have tried to get close, maybe within 5, 6, Curry would have came back down and hit a 3 or hit some magic shot that would have went in. And you know what I mean? So this team, I haven't seen not just lineup adjustments, but play adjustments, defensive adjustments. I haven't seen any changes. I get what's on paper, but there's still a disconnect. And I think that Knicks fans have to wake up. Let's stop relying on the Knicks being these heroes that they did last year in the playoffs when we should be seeing this exemplified now at the end of the season. Where's the confidence in Josh Hart and his shot and his shooting? Where's the confidence in Mikal Bridges and his shooting and being able to contribute? Not one every 3 games you come out and you give us however many points you give us. Jordan Clarkson is playing better than Mikal.
Oh, for sure.
But as you alluded to, which makes sense, they're just going to keep playing Mikal. I don't think that that's the answer. I don't care what the front office is telling you. Sometimes you got to pivot and make the changes and line up matchups against whatever teams and do what you need to do. And I haven't seen that been done. You watch this team offensively, you don't see the changes. You watch this team defensively, you don't see the changes. I don't care what says on paper and what the stats say. The Knicks are like when somebody uses Chat GPT to make an excellent resume. The resume looks immaculate. Wow, look at the experience. Then you watch them on a job, you're like, yo, you don't even know how to change the oil to the frying machine. You said you knew how to do that. So it's BS. It's full of fluff. They may know how to do some things. Maybe they know how to use this system or whatever, but you don't know how to do the full throttle of the job. And I'm not seeing that displayed collectively as a team, which I spoke about in the last episode. It seems like that's what Mike Brown wants ran for his offense. It seems like he wants the offense to be ran as a collective unit type of thing, not Brunson one-on-one.
No, actually, I'm so wow. So now that you mentioned it, actually, I read an article where Brunson, the offense is running through him, and then they mentioned about, well, is Cat like the second option? And Brown mentioned the fact, he alluded to the fact that, well, the offense runs through Brunson, and Cat is Cat. He'll figure it out. So it's like, well, what kind of? I'm gonna bring that article up. I'm gonna look for it, do me a deep dive, and I'm gonna bring that on the next podcast. And I have another thing I want to bring up about that Mitch thing. But no, actually, that's what Brown said. And it's like, well, Cat is Cat. He'll figure it out. Like, huh? Like, you have a first, second, and a third. And quite frankly, McCall was brought here for the third option,
Right.
but he so happened he's not even this the sixth option at this rate, because he's fell, as far as the scoring wise, but so no, everything, and rightfully so, like Brunson is the alpha on the team. I mean, I get it, and but these guys, they somehow they're not full. I don't want to say falling in line, because but they, like, it seems like they haven't figured out their role, and we're in game 69 already. Like,
Yeah.
what are we talking about here? So,
That's why I said the Knicks need a different regimented coach,
yeah, for sure.
not someone who just talks about it in the media, but actually implements changes. I'm talking about when you in practices, blow that whistle. That's not what I'm asking y'all to do.
Okay, so I got a question. So if Brown don't get us to the Eastern Conference Final, do you think he should go?
Yeah, because I think he has more than enough pieces to get you there and to win it.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
have more than enough options to get you there. I can understand that maybe the roster, it's not, it's a lot of times you're not going to have that perfect roster makeup. And as you always say in the show, sometimes when you think, like when the whole Giannis conversation was coming up, sometimes that's not going to be a fit for this team. Certain players and certain superstars coming together and playing for this team, that's not going to always work for this team. But I think that, when you have guys, I had lost you there for a little bit,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
sometimes when you bring certain superstars or A1 players to a team, it doesn't always work out, but I think that this roster makeup in particular, Brown has more than enough to work with. But my issue has been with this Knicks team is I think Tibbs did a pretty good job doing it, but we need somebody who's even more strict and structured and is going to bring discipline, mental toughness, and consistency to this team.
Hmm.
Like I'm talking about, like a lot of times I've heard how Spolstra and Kerr has been praised for how much they really deep dive and really analyze, almost like cybersecurity analysts, how they watch film. And when you really watch film, like I'm talking, you need a coach who's really gonna watch the film and go, okay, I could pinpoint the issues both on offense and defense, and this is what we need to change. And not a small change, but I'm talking about you got to figure out a game plan of how you want to execute that team in particular. And I'm not saying that the offense needs to necessarily be highlighted by Karl Anthony Towns or that it needs to be heavy ISO Brunson. We know what Brunson can do. I think Brunson needs to figure out a better balance of scoring and being a facilitator. Sometimes I feel like Brunson falls lately. He's been falling a little too back and he's been off. But this team needs a coach like, and I said this before, when the Liberty was stinking up the joint and couldn't win a game, the front office was like, enough, enough. And when they brought in Sandy Brondello, who's won a championship, that's number one that they looked at. We need a coach who's won a championship. as a head coach. That's the difference. Not as an assistant coach, as a head coach. And I'm not knocking you being an assistant, but did it as a head coach. She came in and changed she got rid of all the mess, all the bad habits. And I remember one time I was watching a behind the scenes video and she stopped the practice, blew the whistle. She said, "That's not what I'm asking you for. You keep doing it this way, and that's what's getting you hurt in the game." She said, "You got to do it this way." And I was like, that's why they brought you in here. And that's the kind of coach the Knicks need. Y'all keep doing it this way. Your way is not working. You tried your way. Try it my way.
Yeah, because he has the roster. The Knicks are more capable, more equipped. But Brown, for me as a fan, I don't think he's utilizing them,
To
to the best of
the
their
best of
ability.
it. Yeah, I agree.
Like you have like two defensive stoppers, and yeah, OG, we see him. Um, even like McCall, like who's to say if that's the coach for him? I mean, how receptive, So there's a lot of things that we're not privy to, but like I said, if they don't get to the Eastern Conference Final, Brown, he has to go. Like,
Yeah,
sorry, buddy, it was great, knowing you, but you know, I think they're gonna definitely need like a change because let's face it, those like it's Eastern, it's finals a bust. So Browns, he's quite frankly, maybe on the line, and whatever. We don't know, but this is Dolan's mantra and Rose. It's like finals are a bust, and
right.
you know that's the end goal, and that's for all teams. That's the end goal. But the Knicks, they have the roster to get them there, and
Agreed.
I'm not sure if Brown is the guy that's going to get them there.
Yeah. I I keep saying the same thing. Something just doesn't seem right. And I don't know. I'm not sure if Brown is the full answer for
Hmm.
this next team. I did want to show what Brunson had mentioned after yesterday's game. It kind of tapped into a little bit of what you were saying. Let me show it now. Hopefully, it's loud enough.
I agree with him. Haven't been our best in the start of the game.
At the same group in the third quarter isn't having the issues. You guys have been falling all coming back by playing well up there. Is there something that you just see differently this stuff?
Just gotta be ready to go. Can't ease in the games, no matter who's on the court.
Mike seemed pretty concerned about it. What's your concern level with how you guys have been starting them?
I mean, we play better from the start. We don't have to play catch up, and so it's definitely something that we need to get better at, and it has to be our focus.
So Brunson is clearly admitting that the Knicks have to play better. He's not happy with the way that he's playing as well. We'll see what correlates when they play on the floor. The Knicks do play tomorrow against Indiana, so this will be their third matchup that they'll be playing against Indiana. I did read from Ian Begley that he said Knicks are listing Jalen Brunson as questionable for tomorrow's game versus Indiana due to right ankle injury management neck strain. So that'll be interesting if Brunson doesn't end up playing. Listen, at the end of the day, you need him to, if he needs to sit down and rest, he needs to sit down and rest. But we'll see. The Knicks play tomorrow against Indiana, then they play again on Friday against Brooklyn, and then they play on Sunday against Washington. What are your predictions for this week's games?
Um, Definitely. I mean, I could see them taking you know, that Wizards game. All Pacers, BK, watch it because they're tanking. And but of course they would like to beat the Knicks. Everybody, plays up to when they play the Knicks. But I mean, I could definitely see The Knicks taking on all three of these games. You did say Pacers, Brooklyn and Washington. You went
Mhm.
three. Yeah, I'm definitely going 3-0. That
Yeah, I guess I'll go. Yeah, they already what the Knicks are at three in a row now. Yeah, get a win streak going. I'm gonna go 3-0 as well because these are all three teams that the Knicks should be beating. Like it's inexcusable. So I'll go 3-0. And after Sunday, the Knicks don't play again until next Tuesday. So yeah, I'm looking for the Knicks to capitalize on this 3-game win streak, go 3-0. The Knicks have their number. Indiana, you've proven you could beat them the last game, which was a good game. I don't know if Pascal Siakam is going to be playing tomorrow. Probably. I'm not sure. And then same thing with Washington. They've been just horrible. So I'm looking for the Knicks to capitalize and you know get those wins against these teams out there. Shout out to the chat for joining us. APAP 1586, salute to you. Rondu 1973, salute to you as well. Wonder Woman, salute to you. Wonder Woman says, I am very concerned about our Knicks. Yeah, I think there's a little to be concerned about. I don't think we should hit the panic button, but yeah, I think sometimes when you watch the way this team plays, for sure. Um, Eddie FICO, salute to you as well.
Wonder Woman.
Rondu said, I'm glad the Knicks got the win, but ain't no way in hell they should have struggled with the Warriors, man. That should have been a 20-point win. Curry, Butler, Moses, Moody, KP, Green, Melton all didn't play. Agreed. You had the C squad playing in the Knicks. You still struggled, which is, concerning for this team. Eddie said it's time to press the panic button. Very mediocre, embarrassing performance. Yeah, I'm trying not to hit the panic button just yet on
Yeah,
this team. I think let's give them some grace. Let's see what they do to close out the end of the season and what they do, quite frankly, you know, gearing up for the playoffs. We want them all to be healthy and ready to go. So yeah. Um, Eddie said Brown's afraid to stop Bridges' starting streak. Well, everybody can't have perfect attendance, but I do think that Mikal Bridges, I agree, only having 7 points, it's just
yeah.
got to
Brown
give more than
definitely
7
that
points in
guy.
21 minutes.
Yeah, he's definitely not gonna be that guy to sit him down. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Shout out to Kareem Grant. He said, salute to the chat and to Knicks chicks. Salute to you, Kareem. Kareem said, it's bad when Clarkson scores more than Bridges. Yeah.
do that.
Kareem said, ain't no way Bridges will continue being Mr. Freeze in the playoffs. Yeah, I think Bridges will turn it up. And you know what? Maybe that's a good thing because maybe when Bridges does, teams will lay off of him, not expecting him to play. And I think Josh Hart, I'm going to add him to that as well. I think Josh Hart is going to need to step up with his shooting, because teams have been laying off of him. So if he capitalizes and utilizes that in the postseason, that'll be a huge help for this team. Eddie said Boston will beat us because they have a coach who makes adjustments. Kareem, yes, we won't get far in the playoffs if we can defend the three. All top teams are 3-point snipers. Yeah. APAP said, I think this group will be broken up if they flop this year. Absolutely 100% agree.
Sure, I
The only
believe so too.
is Brunson. Salute to Ron over at Still Knicks fan. Shout out to Still Knicks fan, Ron and John. He said, what's good, Knicks family? Salute to the chat. Salute to Lady and Chef and Diva Lock. Salute to Ron. Ron is coming on in like 20 minutes. I believe Ron comes on at 9. So salute to you, Ron. Um, always catching your Saturday marathons and your Monday night shows, always with great takes. Shout out to you, Ron. And a lot of your shorts pop up on the algorithm. So you're doing
Yeah,
something well there.
will he be walking in the city?
Yeah. Remember, Ron, I think he's seen us at the parade, or
Oh
he was watching it, the Liberty Parade. Yeah.
yeah.
APAP said, I don't know about rebuilding, maybe revamp. We can't rebuild. We have no draft picks. 96, they broke up. Did Derek Harper, Nixon, got Allen Houston. You do a revamp, not a rebuild.
Well,
But I
yeah,
don't think that's where the front office wants to go. I think rebuilding with experienced players, yes. But I don't
yeah,
think they want to go trying to rebuild with more Tyler Koleks and, you know,
but they can't.
Diawara.
And that's true. That makes sense. Rebuild with what? Who you gonna, you know? I mean, you could like revamp, and you could match the salaries and so forth. But yeah, we have no picks. We have no assets. So how is
Right.
that possible?
Yeah, APAP said this team has the same problem as last year. Yeah, a lot of the bad habits haven't been changed. Right? He said this team should be able to win 58 games, but bad losses. Yeah, I said the same thing. I've counted at least a handful to 6, 7 games the Knicks should have had under their belt and been well over 50 wins by now.
Yeah, they got no.
Rondo
And they,
said my number one choice was Mike Malone. Yeah,
yeah, and there's quite a few coaches out there, that right about now, I would bank my money on them. Somebody put in the chat, if not Brown, who? There's
that was
quite a
APAP. Multi-power down, salute to you. So check the stats. Knicks in top 10 in key areas. Orange and blue skies family. Yeah, but that was the point that I was making earlier. I think before you came into the show, multi-power down. The Knicks look good on paper, like somebody with a good resume. But sometimes when you watch them, it just doesn't convey. There's something off, you know? So I think, and I agree with APAP. I think, at this point, let's see what Brown does in the playoffs and then we could judge him there. Yeah. Because when you play Detroit and you play Boston, and whoever else you may come across, what adjustments is he going to make? Out of a 7-game series, are you going to play the first 3, 4 games the same way and then try to turn it on when maybe it's too late? Or maybe we got the lead and then you allow a team to, so I agree. That's my thing. Like, let's not clamper down on Brown all the way. Maybe he has something up his sleeve, or maybe he will make some changes. Maybe listening to the assistant coaches and make some changes. I don't know. So I guess we just have to wait and see. But I'm with agreement with Diva Locks for this week's games. I'm looking for 3-0, and then the Knicks have at least a six win game streak, which would be nice for them to have and continue on this level. And honestly, I think it'll be interesting because if Brunson is out, can the Knicks carry the load and be able to beat
who's gonna pick
Indiana?
that.
Right? Who steps up for this team?
Yeah,
So
because they went toe to toe with the Bucks the other day. I mean, the Bucks won, but that score was like 134, 123. So they gave up a fight. Considering Pascal, they wasn't playing because he's I think he's going to be out. He's listed out with like
mhm,
sore right knee or something like that. But they hustled. So
you're right. Yeah. Multi-power down said when you start with a new coach, there will be some growing pains. Yeah. But the thing is, the majority of this roster has been on this team already and playing together. So you can't have too many growing pains. Sure, it may be some because you're under a new regime, a new head coach, they're doing things different than the previous head coach. I agree with that. Um, and yeah, once Deuce comes back, rotation will be better. Yeah, I think Deuce are definitely. I'm hoping Deuce is ready to come back by the playoffs because I think he'll add another element. I think Deuce, Shamit, and Clarkson will be able to help give us more depth on the bench standpoint. And even Shamit's been in a shooting slump as of late as well. Shamit, he's been off as well. I mean, he's hit some key clutch shots for us, down the end of stretch of games, but still. But unlike Bridges, Shamit still plays really good defense, and he's doing the other little things for this team as well. So, yeah. But let us know your predictions for this week for the Knicks. What are your predictions for the end of the regular season as well? Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the replay gang as well. Those of you who are new here or silent in the background, shout out to you as well. And if you guys haven't already, subscribe to the channel. If you like the show, hit the like button. Go watch some older episodes as well. Turn on your notifications, hit the notification bell so you guys know when we go live as well. And leave us a comment because we like to know your takes and love reading what you guys have to say. Like Nick's comments and talks is great to always be able to discuss and get other people's um, views and their thought process on this Knicks team as well. So we'll see with this team. Modi is a sleeper killer. Yeah, he is. Modi Awara is going to continue to get better. He was just shooting hoops with Mayor Mamdani. I thought that was pretty cool. I sent it to you on IG.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. They was like playing a game of horse after it was nighttime, but I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, Modi Awara is going to continue to get better. I think the same way we saw Deuce get better. I think the same thing of Kolick is going to get better. The guys are just going to have to continue to get the playing time. And also, I think it's going to be curious how minutes are distributed once Deuce does get back. As you've seen, Jordan Clarkson has been getting a lot more minutes over Mikal. Rightfully so, because he's actually doing something and producing points. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with this team. I'll be tuned into this week's games, especially tomorrow's game, and following up to the minute to see if Brunson is actually going to play or not. And I don't want Brunson to try to force it. We don't need you to be a hero. If you have neck strain, just stay out. Just stay out. We don't need you to try to play the game. But yeah, anything else from you before we get out of here?
Nah, my mom for less Knicks. Hey, 3-0.
Right, exactly. So yeah, until next time, everybody, catch us on the next recap show. And hope everybody have a great week. Let's go Knicks. And peace, everybody.